What's going on, everybody? It's your favorite host, Adrian Giraldi, with your other favorite host, Steve Aguino. What's going on?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back.
Today's episode is, we're recording this on Ash Wednesday. And so, you know what that means. What does that mean, Steven?
Get that sprinkle.
That sprinkle. I got the cross. You see that? It's very faded.
Yeah.
But it's a cross.
Yeah. It's so interesting. The whole process of Ash Wednesday.
Which is really cool. I mean, we'll talk about it in a sec, but it's been going on for a while, like in Italy. So,
that's for sure. Not only Italy, all over the world.
All over the world.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about Lent today. All things Lent. Really just what we're thinking about, what we're doing this year personally, how we can make Lent better from last year. I know the pandemic hit us in the middle of Lent last year, so it took us for a whirlwind. So let's talk about that. Let's digest that. All right, y'all. Let's get into it. So it is Lent. We got sprinkled. Did you get sprinkled on, Steve?
I did not, just because of the way that my schedule was. I had to live stream mass today.
Oh, you had to live stream mass. I feel that. It was my second to last day. But my last masses officially this weekend. Last week's episode was my last weekend at the church, and then this week was my last mass and last day. So tomorrow's my last day, February 18th. All the emotions: sad, happy, getting all sorts of gifts and blessings and prayers, invites to dinner. Blessed up.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like super sad, but it's also I was just being told by my spiritual director to learn to receive, because I like to give and to do stuff for people, but it's hard for me sometimes to receive compliments and to receive acts of kindness, of service, so
for sure.
Learning how to take these things in and to allow people to love me has been something that I need to learn. I've been trying to learn. So this kind of time in my life has been a challenge. Well, not a challenge, but a gift in that, helping me grow in it.
Yeah, definitely a time to learn. I think transitional experiences are always difficult and bittersweet. So definitely new blessings approaching. Yeah,
it's gonna be huge. I mean, we're doing a lot of changes, like we said last week, of starting a new job, getting married, and moving. So it's, again, a lot of blessings, but man, it's a lot. So prayers appreciated.
Yeah, and those aren't major life things anyways, like getting a new job or marriage. So I mean, it shouldn't be that stressful. So if it's too tough for you, you're not doing it right.
You're just not cut out. You should just quit. I'm kidding.
Yeah. That's it. Forgot about it.
Forget about it. That's funny. How you been, Steve? How you been?
Man, I've been doing well. Here in Jersey, the weather has been kind of crazy. We've been getting a lot of snow. Yeah. It's Wednesday, but we're supposed to be getting something like 10 inches tomorrow. So we're definitely looking forward to that. Not really. But thank God things are going well. I'm a youth minister at parish here in Jersey, and our confirmandi are getting their retreat this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So hopefully the snow doesn't deter them, but we've got a great group of peer ministers who are pumped and ready to serve and lead these kids on this weekend. So I'm so excited. I know the Holy Spirit's going to do some amazing things, and I'm just going to get out of the way and let God be God.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love confirmation season, I like that kind of stuff. That's it just showed the kids get excited, so excited to receive that sacrament. And it's such a great time for you to really evangelize to them, to be like, hey, look, this is important, not because it's a graduation and getting that down your head, but it's the start of a new life for you. And if there was any time for you to leave the life that you were leaving and to change and make it anew, this would be the day, you know?
Absolutely. And what a time during Lent as well.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
You know, I think of like that experience of like when you're in school playing in the schoolyard and like that older person comes by and is like, hey, kids, stay in school or you're going to end up like me. I wish there was somebody who would like, but definitely not, especially in the church setting, like, stay with the faith or you're going to end up like me. Like, you're like, whoa, who are you? What is happening?
Why are you here?
Yeah. So definitely something along those lines is going to happen this weekend. You know, why it's important to be in the faith and staying with the faith and not like giving them a cap and gown and saying deuces.
Adios. We will go see you when you have kids or get married, one or the other.
Yeah, it's unreal.
Yeah. And that's a hard part about parish ministry. If you're not in parish ministry, you don't understand what parish like ministry is like. There's so much like coming and going of people that you never know. Like there's like the solid group of like parishioners that are always active, but then like when it comes to like doing youth ministry, you don't know if a teen is gonna come back next week. They might love it, and then not show up next week, or the next week, or the month later, or a year later, and it's not gonna be always up to them.
Yeah, that's literally what I was gonna say. I was like, and you can't blame them. As tough as it is, like, where have you been? Like, I couldn't get a ride. Couldn't do it. Couldn't be here. I was sports, school, life, all that. Yeah, it sucks, but that's the life of it, and it's a lot of heartbreak. But you know, you can't blame them. You can't blame their parents. I mean. Maybe, but I think the best thing to do is just to be welcoming when they are there, and never ask the question like, why haven't you been here for blah blah blah? But like, I'm happy you're here. Now let's go to work.
I always go like, oh my gosh, I missed you, how you been? And then just that's it, you know, just kind of show them that, you know, you've been waiting for them and excited to see them. So if you're in parish life, I mean, like, that's the best you can do. I mean, but also like if you are a part of a parish, get involved in your church ministry. Like,
they need you.
We need volunteers. You know, we need more people our age are like of the same like mindset.
Well, apparently I'm not your age, Adrian, according to your
podcast.
Did you listen
with Drifted
to that?
And Threaded.
Okay. I was sitting in the car, and I'm sitting in the car, and then all of a sudden I hear, my co-hosts, they're like in their 30s. And you're like, oh dang, I think I just made Steve old. And then I don't know if it was Michaela or Mackenzie, they're like, oh sorry Steven. You're like, ha ha ha, sorry Steven. And I was like, yeah, you better apologize. But I'm 31, so you're okay.
Oh, I was right. That's funny.
I was like, oh man, just hit my mic. I was like, oh man, I cannot wait for him to like sweat thinking that he was wrong, but he was right.
That's funny. Oh man, I was gonna bring it up. I was like, so Steve, so how old are you?
I was born in the 1900s, actually.
Oh wow, that's really old, man. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of an Excel cell phone?
Excel.
I was talking about that with the teens today, talking about cell phones, and they were all standing around. We were supposed to be hanging banners, and they just stopped, and they all stood in a circle and were on their phones. And I was like, are you looking up how to hang a banner? Because you just did 5, and there's 3 more, so what's up? And I was like, back in my day, when I was in high school, we had Nextel cell phones, and we would have fleet numbers, and like, hey, yo, what, you know, and they were like, looking at me like I was, you know, stranger danger, but it was hilarious.
Like, Steve, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What?
It's
I'm sorry. I completely cut you off when I was talking about age and all that good stuff.
I don't remember I think I was going to eventually
having young people like us volunteering in church, and how important it is.
We need you guys. So we need people like us in the church helping out with our youth ministers and what have you, DREs or whatever they're called in your diocese, man. Go get involved at your church, y'all. But speaking of church, like, we are experiencing a lot of like new changes as well. Not really. It's just the church in America. You know, we are not doing the whole. A lot of us didn't experience the whole finger,
the smudge,
head with the ashes. But we got the sprinkle. I was able to do my own or whatever Father like sprinkled it on your like Father did this thing where you sprinkled the ashes on your finger and you like received it, and then you went like that.
That is so interesting. I did not know that was. I mean, I know that it all depends on your parish, and it's like up to the
pastor,
the prerogative of the pastor.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was so funny. I was waiting for the great debate of smudge or sprinkle.
Smudge.
Or
yeah.
I don't know.
So I mean, Jarrell put up a thing on a story, or he even put a post. Somebody like asked a question. He does a Q&As like on his stories often, and he did one where like described it, and this opened my eyes. Like, oh dang, I didn't know this is just an American custom to do the cross in the forehead thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what also tricked me out when I first started working at the church is realizing how popular the Ash Wednesday masses were. They were so attended by people. Like it was like Christmas mass.
Yeah, because they're giving out free stuff.
Right. Or they're labeling them as like, you know, they're being labeled.
Yep.
And they want to like show off their ash, you know?
Yeah. You know, I always would think of Ash Wednesday as the time when single Catholic guys would be able to spot the single Catholic girls the easiest. Yeah. And they're like, Ash, she cute.
Look at that Ash.
Hashtag that Ash.
That Ash.
I was saying that even when I was in religious life, and I think I might have gotten in trouble. But yeah, I mean, it's just so interesting to see how people walk out after receiving their ashes. Some people are like proud. They're like, yeah, that's right. This is an ash on my head. And other people, the second they walk away, they just like wipe it off.
Right. So weird.
But the real problem is when you have the Thursday after Ash Wednesday, and people still got the solid ash on their forehead. And it's like, something's not right here.
This means one of two things.
Yeah. Either that's a tattoo or you nasty.
You nasty. Hopefully you went to like the late mass and you showered before that late mass.
Right. Yeah.
And then you fell asleep after you went to that late mass. And you woke up and got ready for work.
Mm-hmm. But now it's tough to tell. But I think the only way to really tell if you got the sprinkle on the crown of your head is, you know, if you're like gray, or if you've got light colored hair, white hair.
Yeah. Or you're bald. Yeah. I did it. I was distributing ashes today at mass, and you know those, you know, people who didn't have hair, you could tell.
You were lining them up.
You just kind of dampen up the the shine of their head a little bit.
Oh, you'd be like, bro, you want me to fix your hairline with these ashes? And he's like, what'd you say, punk?
What'd you say?
I said you are destined unto death, you shall return. Repent and believe in the gospel. Who's your barber?
Oh man, I thought that was a fun. When I found out, if you guys don't know, some barbers do this thing where they put like fibers into your hair, like,
yes, it's a real
which
thing.
is like just fillers into like your hairline to like give you a sharp edge of like a lineup. Like say I was receding here, they would like fill it up so that they would like blow powdered dust, black dust, onto your like area, and then like shape it with their blade. But the thing is, once you shower, it's gone.
That's right, and that's why they also have the colored ink, where they literally it's like a little brush applicator, and they'll like do your like you were just showing the top of your hair, like the corner of your hairline, and then even for guys, they'll like go down their beard and brush in a full beard. Yeah, and I'm just like, what is happening, and where can I get that?
It's like I feel like I'm like a Barbie doll being like painted and stuff like this.
Man,
it feels like it's like a catfish. It's a catfish, y'all.
It's a real life filter.
Yeah, real life filter. Anyway, we're derailing here.
Yeah, which is what I gave up for Lent. Derailing.
Speaking of derailing, let's bring the rails back into the church, and
that's a whole message right there.
Whole message, whole debate. Anyway, so Lent last year was a little bit different. We started off fine, and then suddenly coronavirus came around and changed our entire lives. And I don't know about you guys, but I think I gave up a lot of what I gave up. You know, like
You stuck to it.
No. I like stopped.
Oh,
I
you
stopped.
did the opposite.
I did the opposite, but then like in Holy Week, I like try to pick it back up again.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think I did a Holy Week episode last year, or by myself, and I just was like look, like we can still make Holy Week holy if we just get back on the horse, and like da 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 da. And so, what did you do? How did you do with your what did you do last year, and how did it fare after coronavirus hit?
Man, I got to be honest. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast. So last year for Lent was definitely interesting. I know that one of my Lenten practices is trying to pray a daily rosary. So I know that was important for me. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that daily prayer was a constant. And I definitely had that opportunity. But, of course, it was a challenge with everything that was going on. But Holy Week was, honestly, it was like, I felt really bad. Like I felt like, oh, I'm a bad Catholic because I'm not in it the way that I usually am, and I'm not focused spiritually. But then I believe Easter Sunday, my brother's a priest, and he came home, and he celebrated Mass in our garage, and that was the first time that I was able to receive the Eucharist in months.
Wow.
Or weeks, I should say.
Weeks, yeah.
And it was absolutely incredible, and like what a blessing and a gift it was to receive the Eucharist, but like to know what it was like to be longing and wanting to receive the sacraments and not having the ability.
Right.
So that was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, like I didn't know. Like, I don't know, I felt like I was in denial for a long time during Lent that this would be longer than it was. You know, not until Holy Week did I start to kind of take it seriously.
Yeah.
You know, at this point last year, during Lent last year, we started working from home. Then we shut down the office for like a whole month. We didn't come back until like May. And I remember on Fridays, I think, or Mondays, we would take turns going to the office to set up for our retired priest who would celebrate Mass. But the tricky part was I could play sacristan and set up the altar for him and do all this stuff, but I couldn't stay in the church. Like I had to, like, after I set up and I opened the door for him, I had to go.
Wow.
I had to wait at the office until he was done. Then I would go back in and clean up and all that stuff. So I was like, man, it's like Jesus is right there, but I can't have him, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, for me, I forget exactly what I was doing too. I know I was every year. It's always trying to get something. I think one of my things was sleeping earlier. If I remember correctly, because that's always one of my things that I try to do is get my sleep pattern back on schedule.
Sure.
Where I'm not sleeping late and waking up late and all that stuff. It's just a habit of mine. And then just trying to read scripture, like at least the daily readings every day. And I was pretty good about it in the beginning. And then I think I was on and off for the rest of Lent. I just kind of kept giving myself grace. And the gym was another thing, like going to the gym this amount of times per week. And gyms closed down. I couldn't go. So I tried to do exercise at home, and like that was a no-go. There's like no motivation for me to like work out at home unless like I absolutely have to. And I just had no like desire for it. But then come Easter, Lent, Holy Week, sorry. I tried to get things going back on the road, and it helped. I just kind of like, it's like only a week and I can do this sacrificially. Christ literally is dying on the cross this week. I can give these things up, and I even try to get off my phone a bit much unless it was for the podcast and things like that, and it worked out. And it was a really good Holy Week, and I had a really good, there was like in our diocese there was no Good Friday like Holy Week services except for the live stream from the diocese. And that one, the priest that gave that talk, the homily, was the one of the best homilies I ever heard, and he was so passionate about it, and like it just got me on fire. So the next 3 days, or the next 2 days, really was really intentional about what I could do, and I'm like, okay, I need to. If like, I wasn't thinking that I was gonna have to have that same energy coming into Lent this year. But I said I need to have that same energy for like the rest of my entire life. Like
Right.
after that homily, it was just so passionate and so real and so honest. Like, hey, look, like we can live our lives, like the general things, that we can live our lives for ourselves, or if we truly love God and we truly want to learn and we truly want to grow and we truly want to do that, we can deny ourselves and live for Him. And doesn't mean like, I'm not telling you, he's like, I'm not telling you to live on the street or big and poor and be all that stuff, but do what you do, but do it for the Lord. And he just the way he said it, the way he portrayed it, it sounds like any other homily, but
No, that sounds powerful.
The way he presented it, the way he said, yeah, it was just so good. It was so powerful. And so now I'm thinking, as I was kind of praying about it, it's like, man, I need to have that energy for this year, for this Lent, because I mean we're still in this pandemic, but the difference between this year and last year is we're more prepared.
Right.
I think we kind of know what this pandemic has for us. I mean, there's still a lot of uncertainty, but
For sure. That was one of the things that I was really reflecting on at the beginning of the year, of this idea of react versus respond. And last year we were reacting to a lot, but this year we're able to respond to what happened. And I think that spiritually, even during Lent now, we can respond, because if we're still reacting, that's kind of a poor thing to do. And I feel like it's a cop out, like, oh, well, it's a pandemic and I don't know. Well, you were in a pandemic last year, and you knew that COVID-19 is still a thing. So, responding is tougher because it's words, and words, I think of like a reaction being like an action, and responding is the word. So it takes time to formulate that. And the same thing with our spiritual life. And as you were saying before, with that idea of the homily, it's like, if you're really serious about this, you'll stick with it. And it's not just a 40-day spiritual workout program, but it's your life. And if you want to get spiritually healthy, make these real changes.
Right. It's so true. I mean, the changes for all of us are necessary. Like, if you want to grow personally, spiritually, like, we all need to grow, to change, and to make adjustments to our lives. But it's always going to look different, right? And so for me, every year it looks different. My sacrifices look different. And for you, I'm sure if there might be some similar ones. Like I said, for me, like sleeping late, it's a common reoccurring one, making sure I get better sleep. Because I consistently like say, oh, sleep is important, but then don't act it, like follow through with that, trying to make that better. So I think it's good, like, to kind of put these things into words and to like put it out there. So why don't we go out there and kind of talk about what we think we're doing this year for Lent, and then kind of see how we can carry that on further past Lent. So do you know what you're doing?
Man, I gotta tell you, it really hit me today, and I was talking about it with my wife and saying, like, all right, what do we want to do? So as a couple, individually, how are we going to support each other, all that kind of stuff. So of course we want to pray together, instead of being on our phones in the evening. We want to read a book together and read a spiritual book, so that we can continue to grow in our faith, but also like spend quality time together. But individually today, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. I had a great conversation for work, and it was really life-giving, and it was a challenge, and it was a challenge for me to have this conversation, because I've been wanting to have it for a very long time. But it's like the Holy Spirit was definitely working and allowed me to be honest and charitable while still sharing my true feelings and emotions. So I think during Lent, one of the challenges that I see for myself is being more authentic, but authentically charitable. So I can be authentic and be a jerk, but also I know that I can be authentic and still be caring about who's on the receiving end. So I think for me, that's one big thing that I want to focus on this Lent, of being me and seeing where God is calling me to grow, particularly through the conversations that I'm having or the things that I'm consuming. But then also the second piece of that is this idea of what am I going to do this Lent versus who am I going to be this Lent.
Ooh, facts.
So for me, I'm looking for like a total transformation, and Ascension Presents had an amazing video by this priest. I forgot his name. It starts with a T. But it's a very short video compared to like a half hour or whatever it might be. But he was saying straight up, like, this Lent, have courage to ask God for everything. Literally say, like, I want this, I want that, I'm willing to sacrifice to attain this, to attain, you know. So that's somewhere I'm really challenging myself of who am I going to be by the end of Lent. And I know that I'm going to be in a different place. Might not be physically, but I know it certainly will be spiritually. And so that's what I'm focusing on.
I love that, dude. Yeah. I love that. I love the whole, like, who am I going to be in this Lent? And who do I like, essentially, who do I want to be from then on out? You know, that's a good question to ask ourselves, a good question to chew on. And you know, the misconception, I think, is, though, for some people, is like, if they don't have what they are giving up by the beginning of Ash Wednesday, then they kind of already toss Lent out the window.
Like, well,
it's like, oh, I guess I'll try next year.
Those 39 days don't count.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, my philosophy, especially when I was working with my teens often during Lent, I would tell them, like, yo, like, you literally don't have to have everything you want to, you know, you need to do this Lent by the first weekend, like by Ash Wednesday, or let alone the first week. You could literally change your entire thing by halfway through, and it's okay. It doesn't have to be one thing.
You mean it?
It's like, and don't give up chocolate, because if you give up chocolate, I will smack you. I will smack you with chocolate.
The big chocolate hand is
because it's that, if that's not actually, I mean, maybe if you're really gluttonous and you just cannot stop eating chocolate, like, then maybe give up chocolate. But chances are you can control yourself when and when not to eat chocolate.
Right.
So maybe there's something else, you know. And for me, I'm at that point where, like, there's some things that I wanted to do and things I wanted to be better at, but I'm not sure exactly where God's calling me to really try to make those adjustments, you know. And so for me, I want to ask myself, I still want to pray with myself. I don't have it figured out. I can tell you what I do have figured out, like a couple of things that I thought of, but am I going to stick with them? I'm not sure. One of them is really learning to not procrastinate, like procrastinating the Zoom, like not Zoom, the snooze, rather, not the Zoom, the snooze button. Often do I get up, like, in the morning, I'm like, okay, I want to do this and that, and then by 3:00 I want to do this, and then, like, 3:00 is when I start everything. I'm like, bro, that's not what I meant. Like,
right.
So I'm constantly having this inner dialogue of, like, and it's not always, but, like, you know, it's like more and not often enough for me to get annoyed with myself. Like, dude, literally, you had 2 hours today to do all this stuff. We even planned it, and here you are not pursuing it. Like, what are we doing? What do I need to do to get you motivated about this? And so I guess it's just making sure that I try to figure out what's the answer to that, and how I can combat that. And so that's kind of one of the things I really want to tackle, so that it's also portraying into my prayer life, right? Because, like, my prayer life, if I'm like, oh, well, I can cut that out, I can just do a quick prayer instead, you know, like, have that, you know, because I did this and that, and I did this and that today, so that was good for, like, you know, I did pray a couple times throughout the day, you know, like, no, stop giving myself excuses, you know, like, I actually want to grow. Like, for me, like, one of the things is I've been listening to Father Mike's Bible in the Year religiously every day. Haven't missed a day. Actually, I've missed a day and I caught up within the next day, and it's fire. And sometimes I don't catch everything, like, I'll zone out, because I'm typically driving when I listen to it.
Right.
And so like, and I mean, honestly, when we're going through Exodus or, all the this person was related to this person and that person was related to this person did that. I'm like, okay, what you say?
Right.
So like what I want to do with that is also kind of be more intentional and actually read along while he's like praying. So I want to not do it while I'm driving anymore. That means I need to carve out time. That means I need to not to procrastinate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
So everything usually relates to me, but those are the two things that I, just for myself, I kind of think two of the few things that I've thought about. But am I going to stick to them? Is God going to call me a different way in prayer this week? Maybe, possibly, even probably. But I think the important thing is to kind of hear in that is that you don't have to have everything figured out Ash Wednesday. You have time to kind of like pray and discern and change your mind, and
that's right.
And what's actually going to bring fruit to your relationship with Christ, fruit to your life, and hopefully just fruit to others with the way you change. And who do you like? The question was like, not what do I want to do, is who I want to be this Lent. And so yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing, but it's a good thing to think about.
For sure. And one of the things that as you were talking about your pursuit in Lent, it made me think of a couple of things, but one of them being SMART goals. Yeah. When people are like, oh, what are your SMART goals? Like, it means specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. I'm reading off of Google because I don't know what they are. But like for Lent, it'd be really cool if we prepared ourselves by setting spiritual SMART goals. Is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Is it realistic? Or is it timely? Like, 40 days, we got the time. But, some of the things are not really realistic, or some of the things aren't really achievable. And I think that's when we get, tough on ourselves, and we're like, it's just not worth it. But if we go about it the right way, it helps. And I think, like, as you were mentioning earlier, with or maybe it was before the podcast started, talking about a spiritual director. When I was a novice in religious life, that was like one of the toughest years for me. It was the first year that I was like really far away from my family, and a couple other things were happening, but I was talking with him, and I was like, this Lent was really like bad. Like, I did not have any experiences, nothing happened. And I was sharing with him like where my heart was at, and he was like, Steve, this is what your Lent was about. This is what Easter is about. And it was like understanding the hardships and seeing that I was still able to find my peace and find my joy and find the positive aspects and outlooks on those events, and not saying that because this is bad, everything else has to be bad. Because this was a challenge in this one specific area, it affects everything else. Yeah. But that we're able to still grow and pursue the good that we're trying to achieve, even though by our standards we're not achieving it.
Right. That's so good. Yeah, it's always being able to see the things. It's always, one hindsight, maybe always 2020, but also like
it's 2021 now.
It's 2021. Stop saying that phrase, guys. Come on. But like having a spiritual director is also helpful to help you figure these things out. And I couldn't recommend a spiritual director anymore. Honestly, there's not all priests are good spiritual directors, and not all spiritual directors need to be priests either. Right. You can have a deacon or someone like just a spiritual leader who may have a certification in it too. The only requirement I think is for them to actually have a good relationship with the Lord. And that's just my opinion, but there might be actually legal like things that they might need to have.
Like educational aspects. Yeah. Right. Yeah, I knew of a guy who was studying to become a spiritual director, and there's almost sort of like a license, so to speak, but not necessarily like a paper that's like I'm registered.
I'm certified.
Yeah, but for sure, as you said, as long as you're walking along someone on their journey with the Lord, that's spiritual direction right there.
Yeah, amen. So we're gonna take a break right here. We're gonna come back and talk more about Lent and how we can make this Lent even better than the last. We'll be right back. If you did not know, Living Ardently is now an affiliate with Be a Heart Design. Be a Heart has a bunch of great things for you and your family. So if you want to go get something, use our affiliate link in our show notes, and then you can use our promo code Ardently10 for 10% off your purchase. Everything that we make goes straight back into our podcast, so you'll be supporting our ministry. Again, so if you want to get something nice for yourself, for your friends, or your family, go to Be a Heart using our affiliate link. Use our promo code Ardently10 for 10% off. And not only will you be helping the ministry here at Living Ardently, but you'll be getting something cool too. Again, link in the show notes, Ardently10. Let's get back to it. All right, we are back with Adrian and Steve.
Yo.
And we talking about Lent. Remember, you are dust into
dust. You shall return. Return.
So we're
inevitable.
And I am Iron Man.
Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Sorry
about that.
If you haven't watched it by now, what are you doing with your life? Anyway. God said go watch it.
There's still at Avengers beginning game.
Yeah. Beginning game. So speaking of beginning the game, so why don't we go kind of expand on this whole SMART goals thing that we were talking about? Because I want to, every episode, a particular thing that I wanted to do for Living Ardently was to give you guys content that's always going to be helpful for in each episode. Mm-hmm. Something you'll learn, something that you can take away, something that will be helpful and fruitful for you. It turns out for me, like, as last year was so cool in interviewing so many people, I got away from giving good, like, helpful tips all the time. It became just kind of telling people stories, which is great and good. You might learn something from their stories. But I failed to kind of constantly, not that I didn't, but like every episode didn't always hold like value like I wanted it to. So this goal for this year is to kind of always give you value. And so for this part, we're going to kind of talk about some things and some tips that we think that you might want to consider for Lent. I mean, obviously, it's ultimately, like we said earlier, it's going to be between you and God and what you guys kind of, you pray about and, what, kind of God helps reveal to you how your relationship with him is going, all that jazz. So, Steve, you were talking about those SMART, attainable, the SMART goals, but SMART spiritual goals. Why don't you give us an example of what that could look like? Just like what's a good SMART attainable goal? That might not be general, but just kind of a good example for people.
Yeah, I can definitely give examples for that of the spiritual SMART goal. And SMART is an acronym: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, timely. So I think that some of these things, before we kind of get into that, I think one of the main things to remember and what's important is that the whole purpose of Lent is that so that we can journey with Jesus to the cross. So in Lent, we are saying, what can we do? How can we be the person who was walking closer to Jesus to the cross? And how are we going to celebrate his resurrection and all the goodness that comes with that? So for something that's specific, if you know that there is something specific in your life that you can ask yourself the question, is this helping me get closer to the Lord? And if the answer is no, then you can say, how can I shift in this moment? So for me, one of the things that I have is road rage.
Dang,
I mean,
facts.
it's not horrible, but it's just I'm from the Bronx, so we're like, what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah. So if there is a moment where I can easily just get so frustrated and so angry, and and then there's somebody who sees me and they're like, oh my gosh, Steven was I saw him driving and he was like throwing his hands in the air and getting crazy. So what I remember too is like who I am and the example that I'm supposed to be setting. And I'm always worried like if there's somebody from the church who knows me, but it shouldn't be only that. It should be like people in my community. I represent my family. I'm, a spouse. Whatever you or whoever you are, do your actions bring glory to God? So that of being something specific, something achievable, which I think is pretty cool, is the whole idea of walking in the desert. Jesus was tempted. So what is our desert? What are the things that we come across that might tempt us to, have that spiritual laziness? And
Right.
I think that we can name those specific things and say, okay, how can I shift my focus to give time to the Lord to fill those spots so that I don't fall into these temptations, so that I don't experience the desert even more, but can say, even though I'm in the desert, there is joy. Even though I'm in the desert, there is the renewal. There's that life that we're looking for. So I think one of the biggest things, and especially looking at the last T in SMART of timely, what are the things that are happening now in our life? And, for a lot of people our age or your age, Adrian, there's a lot going on, and it's just a lot of division, a lot of separation, a lot of comparison, a lot of he said, she said. And so we can take that and see that those things are not helping us walk closer to the Lord. They are not helping us in our journey. And so we can say, all right, I spend an hour or 2 hours a day listening to this podcast where all they do is rip each other apart. I listen to this music for 3 hours a day, and every other word is beep, bleep, beep, beep, beep. And so how can you take that time and maybe shorten it? Begin to shorten it. Say, okay, I love this podcast so much, I listen to 2 episodes, but today maybe only listen to 1, or try to listen to something different. So seeing where we're at, even like through current events, and how we can be charitable in what's going on, or if that just draws you into like being, full of rage and anger and responding in some crazy ways, you got to try hard to put yourself in a different mindset, shift your focus, create the space, create the time to walk in your relationship with the Lord. And so I think those are some spiritual SMART goals right there.
Yeah, those are really good. I mean, just kind of like, again, assess where you are, where your relationship is. And I mean, and pray about it. I mean, I'm sure it'll easily come up to your mind when you really take a step back and look at your relationship with the Lord, or look at where you are in your life and where you want to improve.
That's right.
Do that. My thing is, if you're having trouble with that, I'm challenging you all to kind of like looking into, like I said earlier, getting a spiritual director, and trying to start this time to kind of help figure out where you are spiritually and where you could go. Like, I honestly, like, my spiritual director being down here, he's an older priest, but he's so like spirit led in everything that he does, in his homilies and how he speaks to people. He's so aware of the Spirit and is always cautious about making sure that he listens. And so, like, having him as a spiritual director always helps me understand a little bit more where I am and where I need to be, and he's been a blessing to my life to kind of figure it out. And it's gonna be sad to not be able to do spiritual direction with him for a while, because he's a little bit like, we can probably figure it out on the phone, but nothing beats like in-person spiritual direction. And if it's not spiritual direction that you need, and maybe you need a therapist or psychiatrist of some sort, like, kind of discern that and see like if it's something you can afford. But checking in on your mental health, if you can afford it, if you can figure the time for it, like, I highly recommend, because they're gonna figure things out for you differently, different parts of your life out differently, but they're gonna help you kind of see your life from a different perspective. See where you are spiritually, see where you are mentally, where you are with some past traumas, where you could be somewhere and in your life and you feel like you're completely moved on, but then like turns out you do certain things because you're still hurt about a certain way someone treated you, or a certain thing that happened in your life, which is that's not wrong, it's not bad, but you'll never heal if you don't know there's a problem, right? like just a car. Like if the check engine light never came on, you would never know if there was a reason to check your engine. Right.
And a lot of us don't do anything. We just see the light and we keep on moving.
Me. I've had it on for 2 Lents now, actually. I'm talking
That's
about the
Catholics
car,
keep
not my
track of time.
spiritual. Right. 2 Lents. It's been 2 Lents. I remember because it was like Holy Week, and it came on. I was like, what are you doing? Like, there was like so much going on in my life, and then suddenly the check engine light started going on. Turns out it's just a small fuel emissions leak, and it's not that serious. But it's been 2 years, so it might be serious at this point.
Oh, man.
Anyway, so bad analogy if you're that kind of person like I am, but good analogy if you are really concerned to make sure that those check engine lights do work and you go check them out. But think of it that way, that they're helping you figure out there's actually a problem here, and here's how we could, like, having somebody come in, like, plug that like little thingy in to see the code. It's like, okay, I mean, it's not that easy. It's not like they'll figure it out right away, but going to them will help you figure out where you might need to heal in your life, or where you need to grow. And so I think during Lent, this might be a good time to do that, especially because last year and this year, I mean, we're full. It's been full of a lot of stress because of COVID. I mean, all the racial injustice, all the scandals, all the like arguments, the bantering, all this stuff. Like, even social media just has been full of, like, you say one thing, it would be taken away, like, way wrong. So just kind of like discern this, where you are, where you need to be, and how you can grow. This is something that we all need to do for ourselves and for to have a really good Lent. And then again, sticking to it is obviously huge. But yeah, so where is it? Where do you want to grow? Where do you want to be in 40 days? Where do you want to be at the end of the year? Do you want to stop at 40 days? Kind of discern that this year, and hopefully you will exceed where you want to be.
Right.
Hopefully.
And who you want to be.
Who you want to be. Yeah. Ooh, mic drop. All right, we got to end it there.
Don't drop these mics. They're a little pricey.
A little bit too pricey. You dropped them into a bag. Maybe not even that, because
like a foam basket.
A foam basket that absorbs all shock absorption. But yeah, so that's all we got. Hopefully that was helpful to you guys. Kind of seek out discern what you need to do this year. Again, you don't have to like be stuck on what you already decided. I mean, this is going to come out next Monday, or next week sometime, depending on if I'm able to edit or not. So like, look at the time frame. You don't have to like be stuck on what you already made. Whatever you decided, you can still make changes. You can make a whole different next week. You can do something different every week if you wanted to. No problem. And if you need some spiritual advice, go to your priest. But we could also help. We can pray for you if you wanted us to pray for you in some way. You have our social medias in the show notes of each episode, so go check those out. And I will be glad to pray with you, or however we can be of service for you this year. We got to be together because it's been a crazy year, but 2021 can be a lot better than 2020 as long as we try to make it.
That's right. Absolutely. This is the year to make it happen.
Captain.
Make it happen, Captain.
Captain, not Captain. Captain. Anyway, y'all, I think that's it. I think that's all we got. Hopefully your Lent is going well, and hopefully it continues to go. Hopefully you don't give up on fasting, because I'm about to. I'm so hungry.
Hang on strong. Just a couple more hours.
Are you that kind of person who like eats right at midnight?
I was, until I started falling asleep at 11:30.
Right. Yeah, right. Go to sleep early, Adrian. Gosh.
Work on their sleep.
Work on that sleep. Wake up early. Go to sleep early. Be better. Jarrell apparently now goes to sleep at like 8 o'clock, which is amazing. I'm like,
yeah, so
who
you can
are
wake
you?
up at 4 because he's starting his ninja training. Hashtag Cobra Kai episode coming in the
Cobra
future.
Kai.
I'm putting it into the into the airwaves. Cobra Kai conversation is gonna happen.
We were having Jarrell got us on, both Steven and I, onto Cobra Kai. Now my fiance is into it, and she literally told me today on my way home as we were talking on the phone. She was like, I was thinking at work today, I want to do karate. I want to do Miyagi-Do karate though. I was like,
that's funny.
This is so good. Let's go. I'm ready to do karate as well. So Cobra Kai, go watch it if you haven't watched it already. It's just a follow-up, years later after 30 years later after Cobra Kai. I mean Karate Kid, their first one. And then it's following Johnny Lawrence instead as the protagonist of the show. But it's not always black and white. Oftentimes it's gray.
That was deep.
That was good, man. I quoted that immediately. I was like, all right, Johnny Lawrence looking like Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to do an episode on that because there's so much lessons to take away from Cobra Kai. So much good storylines. And Jarrell, Steve, and I are going to come on. And once we can get our schedules lined up and record a Cobra Kai episode. So for those of you, I know Nathan Crankfield, he was like, whoever got me into Cobra Kai, I hate you. I was like, what? You hated it? And so we started talking about it. And yeah, there's some cheesy parts. I get that. That's just how it is. But listen, it was overall a really good episode. I mean, a really good series.
Have to agree.
Yeah. So go check it out. Go watch it. Steven put it in the airwaves. It's going to come out. It's going to come out soon. So follow us on social media, Living Ardently, Gino.media, The Bosco Beats. It's only Adrian for me. And then if you want to send us an email, livingardentlypod@gmail.com. You can check out our blog site at livingardently.wordpress.com. And then make sure if you're listening on Apple Podcasts to leave us a rating and review. Helps us a lot. If you want to donate, you can donate through our PayPal, through our new Buzzsprout stuff. It's all in the show notes. And then all of that donations goes into like paying for the subscriptions I have to pay for to create the podcast. So Buzzsprout, maybe Zoom at this point, and all that stuff that I do that I have to pay for. So all that donations, very grateful. Equipment like this microphone, all that stuff. So we appreciate your donations, your support. But if you don't have money to donate, please just leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, because that is really helpful. Subscribe on YouTube and like and follow notification bell thing, whatever they say.
Smash the notification bell.
Smash the notification and the like button. Leave us a comment below what you're doing this Lent, because we want to know, and I'm gonna read it, and then I'm going to pray for you this Lent and for the rest of your life. If you comment back. What else we got? I think that's it.
That's it.
Subscribe everywhere else that you listen. And love your friends, love your family, and talk to your mother. She's been waiting to hear from you. Okay? God bless. Steve, thank you for coming.
Peace out.
What's your last words for this Lent?
Pray each day to know the way.
God bless. Keep living ardently. Peace. That was great.